Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and I try to answer your questions, particularly about Olympus cameras and the new OM-1. I've had it for a couple of weeks now and really been trying to take it out every day as much as I can and having a lot of fun with it. It's really been an amazing camera and I haven't had any disappointments as of yet. More disappointed in myself because I'm not a better photographer to be able to really kind of get the shots uh, that I think this camera is capable of because I'm doing a lot better, a lot of practice, especially with birds in flight. David Crooks knows I've been going out, God, almost every day and testing different scenarios and all the different aspects of the camera. And I've gotten some really, really amazing shots that I just would not have been able to do otherwise. Um, just being able to have the subject detect on for birds and seeing a bird and just flipping up and locking focus just like that, it's pretty amazing. So I tried to put some footage together so we can watch it a little bit. I'm sorry I was so late today. I'm still struggling with my computer. I got it to boot in about 10 minutes last night and I haven't turned it off yet. I was afraid to reboot it today because it might take hours. I don't know. But yesterday I boot up the machine. It took an hour and a half to boot up, and I did everything I can to make it boot faster. I researched on anyway. We all got problems, right? So anyhow, let me check in who's here. Let's see. How do I get my chat window up? Awesome. So David Black, hi from Indiana, and C&H Ventures, good to see you. Lake Kemp, hey, I'm doing well, thanks. Good to see you. And let's see. Croquet Mansour, you took a photo recently with some kind of zoom effect with light trails from a building. Just wondering, how I took a shot. I know which one you're talking about. Let me see if I can bring it up. Basically, I just zoomed. Let me, where is it? I just zoomed in. I think it's this. Of course, every time my app shows up and not the right monitor. Give me a second. Uh, what he's referring to, I believe, is this one. Basically, I just handheld the camera and zoomed, right? While it was during a long exposure. So you can see this is a 2-second exposure. And I was just using the kit zoom. In this case, I was using the power zoom, but it doesn't matter. You could manually do it. And that's all it was. So you hold the shutter button down, and while the camera's taking the picture, you zoom in or out. I forget which way I went, but that's all it is. Okay. Um, let's see. Mark Wolf, wow, it's been a while. How you doing? Sue North, good to see you. System the Chore, 24th of March. What's that all about? And David Crooks is here. Yeah, we were out this morning, David and I. And Harold Graham. Hi, Rob. I was wondering if anyone else is unable to view OM1 RAW files on Android phones. I haven't tried. That's a good question. Where's my phone? Since this is a Q&A, right? Might as well get into it. Let me open up the app. I haven't even paired the app with my phone yet. I don't even know how to do it. I guess I can turn airplane mode off first, right? I put in airplane mode so to save battery life. I assume it's in here it is. Airplane mode off. And Wi-Fi connection, device connection, all of the next steps. Initialize OI Share app. And where is it? OI Share. Press OK once the installation is complete. Oh. Olympus Image Share has been renewed as app OM Image Share. Oh. So I have to install this. I'll have to come back to this question. Well, if it installs quickly, I won't worry. Let's see. We'll see how fast it installs. That's pretty quick. Pending is my my Wi-Fi is not even on. There, let me turn my Wi-Fi on. I'll come back to that while that's loading. Roman, good to see you. Rob has so much fun taking pictures that he forgot. Oh, want to do YouTube stuff. Yeah, I know. Oh, any other questions yet? David, tell it. Oh, hey, how are you? I haven't developed that film yet. David Tell and I went out and shot film for a day, and I still haven't, because I've been messing around with my new camera. And Mike S. got his first bird in flight with the 100 to 400. Awesome. Congratulations. And, oh, is it the first day of spring? Oh, that's awesome. It's beautiful weather. I can't wait to go out again, maybe even this evening. I've also been practicing shooting my dog Ellie, and I'm having a lot of issues with that. I'll talk about that in the stream as well. Oh, it's open. This app loaded. Rob Trick, what is the file size? They're like 20 megapixels, give or take. If you're talking about the RAWs, it's exactly the same as the M1 Mark III or any of the 20 megapixel Olympus cameras. Or probably most Olympus cameras. Gigafish is here, Music Sound Gear. Good to see you. So I think it was Harold's question. Let me find it again. Oh, Casper's here. My goodness, how are you? Boy, you guys are coming out of the woodworks today. Yeah, Roman with the Macs. I'm never buying a Mac. I guess I need to get over my grudge with Apple, but here we go. This is the question. Wolftick is here. My goodness. Like I said, you guys are okay. I just hit agree. I did the normal, like, just. Does anybody ever read the agreements on these things? Configure initial camera settings. Oh. Scan. Allow OM Image Share to access the. I wonder if I can show you guys what I'm doing while I'm doing this. Let me. The battery for my cam. See. Gonna be crooked, but allow while using app. Okay. OI Share uses a camera to scan QR codes on the following screen. Tap while using the app. Okay. Allow. So how do I get the QR code up on this? Tap the Wi-Fi button, device connection. Okay, okay. Initializing. Okay, I got the QR code. Scan it. And then start the setup. Register. I'm sorry, there's so much glare. Connection to the camera via Wi-Fi. Select the camera Wi-Fi SSD. Okay, there we go. OM-1. Enter password. Are you serious? I thought they were supposed to make this easy. Let's see. Need my glasses. I can't read the small print on here. All right, I'm gonna not show the password like it matters. 1 1 0. Done. Nope. Oh my God. That's not right. I shouldn't have to enter that long ass password. I mean, it says easy setup here. That's not easy. The password, my God, the password is like a 20 digits. Failed to communicate. All right. Start setup. Bluetooth setup complete. Connect to the camera. Select the Wi-Fi SSD. On the next screen, you can check the Wi-Fi SSD on the back. If a password is required, enter the Wi-Fi password. Man, you're going to make me enter the password. I can't believe it. Connect. Oh, I got it right the first time. Okay. I'm going to connect. Get this out of the glare. No, incorrect password. You bastard. What did I do wrong? Okay, Wi-Fi connection, device connection, initializing. All right, one more time. And initializing. Info button. I'm going to try one more time. One. All right, let's try the password again. I'm going to concentrate this time. That's the right password. All right, there we go. Okay, internet may not be available. Keep Wi-Fi connection. Okay, setup complete. And allow image share to access media. Yep. Detect camera Bluetooth turns on. Okay. Now, import photos. So this is a raw image. I only shot raw today. So I'll select it, download. I don't know if you can see it. One item were imported. So you can see it says raw right here. So download raw. Oh, it tells me it's a raw. See, these are all raw. Let me try another one. Download. Yeah, I'm not having any issues with downloading RAWs. So that is that answer to that question is Rob Trek is not having problems loading raw images. I don't know about anyone else, but I just loaded the app from scratch basically. Took me a couple tries because I can't type a password, but everything seems to be fine. Okay. Any other questions while I'm at it? Hi, Rob. It's my birthday. Oh, happy birthday. That's awesome. And Marcia's here. Good to see you. John Yutze, thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Music Sound Gear, good to see you. And what are the file sizes? So I'll just show you the directory. Let's see. Here are the pictures I took today. Oh, loading slow. Give it a second, but you can see it says 18. Details. So this one's 19.623 kilobytes. This one is 17.476 kilobytes. And I don't think I have any JPEGs. Let me sort by type. Oh, ORF. Let me go to the bottom. Yeah, I don't see any JPEGs in here. I only shot RAW today, I believe. JPEGs are like half that size. All right. Let's see, what else do we got? In Oregon. Oh, sorry. Hey, Dave. How are you? Dave Nelson is here. Jeff Wise. Oh, Jeff Wise has a question. I have the M1 Mark III. Is the upgrade to the OM worth it for bird photography? Yes, I think it is. But specifically just for the autofocus. The bird detect autofocus is pretty amazing. I'll show you a clip today. I recorded some this morning. So you're going to see everything kind of raw. But yeah, for the bird detection is pretty awesome. I mean, I've never been able to just whip around and quickly get focused like that. And I'm learning, I'm getting better at it. I think in another week or two, I will have probably reached 80 to 90% of my skill set, um, and hopefully get more keepers. I'm struggling a little bit with the because I'm trying to record the back of my screen at the same time as I'm taking pictures, and the problem I'm having is I like to shoot manually and adjust the shutter speed as I go. So sometimes I got the shutter speed wrong because I'm looking in the EVF. When I'm looking in the EVF while I'm recording, all I get is a clean signal here. I don't see any of the settings the camera's using. I can't even see if it's focusing or not, to be honest. But I've done it enough now that I can trust the autofocus. I don't have to see if the camera's focusing or not. I can just trust that the bird detector is working and not have to see it. But I'm going to go out one day without the screen recorder on there and really practice and get some good shots. But maybe after I get a new lens. This lens is amazing. It's amazing, the 75 to 300, but it is a little bit soft when you push it to 300 millimeters. But I'll show you some pictures I took today. Now, the question is, is it worth upgrading for bird photography? If you do a lot of bird photography, definitely. And people are showing me Facebook posts and forum threads and things like that that say it's tracking better than the Sony's for birds. So there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that it's an excellent. I'm going to knock my head on this thing. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence that the OM1 is doing a fantastic job with bird photography. My personal experience is it's doing amazing. But I've never shot with Sony or any of the other brands for bird photography, so I can't say that it's better than those. Only from what I'm reading and hearing. So that's and when I used to try to shoot birds in flight with the EM1 Mark III, I would just use the cross point autofocus. Forget about tracking. I would use the cross point autofocus, which uh, you really you really have to have a very high precision in tracking birds with your own eyes, right? And the camera. Whereas with the OM1, my precision is anything in the frame, it's going to lock focus like that. Anything in the frame, assuming you're using all the focus points with bird detection. You don't want to use like cross type autofocus or single point autofocus with bird detection because it's only going to look in that little area is what I'm discovering. I'm gonna do more testing to confirm that, but right now, if I choose like a little cross point or small box, small area, it's even though it sees a bird in another part of the frame, it doesn't seem to want to focus on it if it's outside of this little green box that I created. So I use all area with bird detect, and it works. I know that works. I have to do more testing with other configurations, but Uh, the EM1 Mark III, you can get very good results with continuous autofocus, continuous shutter, uh, and cross point, right? Cross point or small area, not small box, but small area. You can get really good results. And I've gotten good results like that with the EM1 Mark III. So if that's how you primarily shoot and you don't want to rely on the subject detect, um, I don't see any reason to get the OM1. The power of the OM1 is that subject detect for, dopes like me that can't track a bird or get it in a frame. I don't know. It works really well. Uh, so it's a tough call. I can tell you that the EVF is a lot sharper. I didn't give it a lot of credit when I first got the camera, but now that I'm using it, being able to shoot with that high quality EVF for birds in flight also makes it a lot easier. You can really see very clearly the birds, and that makes a big difference too. So I, if you sell your EM1 Mark III like I'm going to, and buy the OM1, I think it's a worthwhile upgrade. Unless, dropping 2,200 bucks is no big deal. Uh, keep your EM1 Mark III as a backup and buy the OM1. That's just my opinion. One man's opinion, right? Yeah, this is what David was talking about. If you have the link for that, David, why don't you share it in the chat section? If you get a chance. And Gigafish is asking, got a question. Can you prioritize cluster AF versus subject box second on the OM1? I saw videos showing cluster more. And I can't read. Get my thicker glasses on. I saw. Time was that post? 12:24. Wow. Can you prioritize cluster AF versus subject box second on the OM1? I saw a video showing cluster more than subject box and continuous burst. I haven't tried the cluster AF on this camera, so I can't answer this question. Something I'll try though. Maybe today or tomorrow when I go out. I mean, the cluster detect is interesting, meaning, it scatters the focus points and tries to track things. So I got mixed feelings about it in the past with the M1 Mark III, but I haven't tried it with the OM1. I'm just reading through. Does OI share require Wi-Fi or just for installing it? Just for installing it, because I disabled the Wi-Fi for installing and updating apps on my phone. All right, I'm sorry, I disabled mobile data. I only want to install apps and updates when I'm on Wi-Fi, so that's why I had to turn it on. But I think you need Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on at the same time to use the OI Share app anyway. It has to connect to your camera via Wi-Fi, I believe. But I don't use the app. I hate using apps on my phone. So I'm not a good person to ask about those things. Ken says, Rob, last week when you were on, I was having focusing issues shooting sports on the OM1. You told me to turn off a couple of settings and it worked, and now I'm having almost 100% hit rate. Oh, good. I'm glad those settings helped. Might have been an email. I don't remember talking about it in a stream, but if you emailed me, I know I respond to a lot of emails too about questions you guys send me, and I'm happy to do it, but I'm glad whatever I told you helped. Oh, Marco's here. Hey, Marco, how are you? Just an update. I I booted my computer yesterday. It took about an hour and a half. It finally went in, and while I was able to get it, once I'm in Windows, I'm fine. And I did the SFC, I did DISM, I did check disk on every disk. One of them was actually had a lot of problems, which I understand. It's an external drive, but I fixed everything on that one drive. And I've tried booting this laptop without anything connected to it other than the power cable, and it didn't make any difference. It still took forever to boot. But I did a bunch of stuff. SFC did find an error. The DISM did not find any errors. The check discs, all the discs were fine except for one of the externals. And um, and I made sure all my drivers are up to date. But I rebooted after I did all of that, and it took 10 minutes to boot, which is a huge improvement from an hour and a half. But my computer used to boot in about 30 seconds, and now 10 minutes is unacceptable. So I haven't rebooted the computer since yesterday. I just been putting it to sleep. So I don't know if you have any other ideas, let me know. But I've tried everything. Firmware is up to date in the BIOS and all of that. And let's see. Stephen Long is here. Hello. And Roger said he sold his M1X and you're going to get the OM-1 Tuesday. All right. Awesome. It is an awesome camera. And oh, Rick is here. Hey, Rick, how are you? CNH asks, how fast does the EM1 boot up power on for taking photos? Oh, I can show you. See, the camera's still. So I'm in C3. C3 mode, which is manual. Let me just put it in program mode. That's if we're going to benchmark something, we need a standard benchmark, right? To boot up in program mode. Okay, so let me zoom out. So let's power up. Yeah, just a quick second. I need to put on a different lens. This lens is not going to focus. Okay. So turn it off. And let's see, can you see this screen? Not really. All right. Okay, so let's power on. F fast. So it's off. 1001, 1002, 2 seconds. Roughly less than 2 seconds. Okay. I don't know how that compares to other cameras, but it's fast. And let's see. Yeah, chuckling to myself about your phone. Yeah, it's a generational thing. I'm not a fan of rubbing my phone to do things. And Zami has some additional information. You don't need Wi-Fi for the app, only Bluetooth and localization. It's active, if active himself with Wi-Fi. Okay. Like I said, I don't use it enough, so I can't speak to what it uses, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Oh, Randy, how are you? Good to see you. Watching the F1 race. Oh, good. Because yeah, usually I'm on a couple hours earlier, and you always ditch the stream to go watch the F1 racing. Of course, now you're probably itching to go out and shoot, right? And Zami has more feedback. Uh, with the OM1, the OI share is faster to transfer. That changed my life. Awesome. When I find a reason to use it, I'll try it, but I just don't have Wi-Fi in my workflow. Yeah, there's still a bunch of stuff. Okay, maybe I'll have you come on, because I guess there's a way you can look at my screen. I turn that off, the remote access, but I'll try and turn it on and I'll give you a buzz. Email me later when you have some time and we'll set up a time to do that because I'm at a loss at this point. I'm thinking it's a hardware error because I went into the logs and it told me that it was having trouble with some hardware, but it didn't tell me which hardware it was having problem with. I'm wondering if I have a bad memory stick or USB port. I don't know. Yeah, I removed as much as I can. I mean, I need all of the Adobe update stuff and a few other things. I got rid of some stuff, but it never used to take more than 30 seconds to boot, even with everything on, you know? I reduced my page file cache down to half. I did a lot of things, and I spent hours last night. And then it rebooted in 10 minutes, which is really good compared to an hour and a half. But, Wednesday last week, the last time I remember booting it, I mean, 30 seconds, a minute tops, Um, remove some of the auto updates. Uh, most of the updates I've seen in March were all security patches. I didn't see any hardcore like Windows updates in March that I recall. Because I was going to remove like any Windows updates that were more system related, but I didn't see any. All I saw were security patches, which I don't think affect the boot up time. Yeah, I did check disk on everything, and I have plenty of RAM. I have 40 gig of RAM, so no issues there. Clean all your temp files. I did all of that. Yeah, I've done so many cleans. I wonder if the cleaning is what caused it. App updates. Yeah, I even went into the Windows Store in the control panel and cleared the cache of the Windows Store and reset it. Um, yeah, go to the event log and see if there are any errors during boot. Yeah, I'm getting hardware errors. But it won't tell me what the hardware error is. That's the problem. um, there was like 6 or 7 hardware errors. Those could be driver issues too, right? But I updated all the drivers as far as I can tell. But yeah, there's a bunch of hardware errors. Oh, like I said, it runs fine once it's up. Just takes like 10 minutes. The last time it took 10 minutes. I'm scared to reboot it now and see how long it takes, you know? Yeah, the cleaning programs can screw up the computer. I agree. I did run Crystal Disk Mark. I'm getting the normal speed for the SSD, like 1500 gigabits or whatever it is. It's running fine. Okay. Did I undo the video card detector? Just basic setting. Maybe your video is not compatible. And also, did you install the program after? If you're talking about like OM Workspace or something, Yeah, all my apps are running fine once I'm in Windows. It's just the boot up is taking forever. And I ran all the troubleshooting things for, Windows Update and internet. There's about 5 or 6 troubleshooters you can run. I didn't find problems with any of them. Not that I would think they would be a problem, but you never know, right? So I just ran troubleshooter for everything, Wi-Fi, everything is fine. And yeah, I don't defrag though. Yeah, SSD defragging an SSD is pointless. uh I might do this. I hate to do it because right now I have the last 2 years tax software on here, and I don't want to have to reinstall those and do my taxes this year. I don't want any, you know what I mean? I think if once I finish my taxes, I might try that. But I don't want to mess with my software before I finish my taxes because everything I do, my Quicken, the TurboTax and all of that crap's installed right now with years worth of crap on it. And if I uninstall everything and do a fresh reboot, I know the data will still be there, but you know, I I feel like that's a little bit too much to do once I finish my taxes and have everything archived and printed, then I might go into the full on reinstall Windows, but save my data, full restore. But I shouldn't have to do that. And I've done registry cleans, which, people have mixed feelings about, I know. Turn off all Microsoft, yeah. Oh, that's a tough that's another tough thing because a lot of the software securities, I mean, I run Adobe and Photolab. There's so many services running. It would make my computer unusable. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Marco, because there's a very specific driver that after I loaded that, that's about the same time I started having problems. It was an Asus update that Windows suggested, not Asus, but Windows update said other drivers. So I went in and I updated those drivers, and then the next day or something, whenever I rebooted again, that's when I had the problem. But I can't find a way to uninstall that update, you know? I went into the control panel, devices, I can't find that driver anywhere. So, do a dual boot with Linux and see how that works. I don't think so. I'm not a Linux guy. Oh, Plato, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I did create a restore to my SD card. I don't know if it'll boot from an SD card though, because I don't have a USB thumb drive. I mean, I have one somewhere, but I can't find it. I certainly don't have any that are 32 gig USB cards because it said you need at least 16 gig available. And I don't have a 32 gig USB drive so I installed it onto an SD card. I don't know if an SD card would work, but that's a good idea. See if it'll boot from an external drive without slowing down. It turned into like a computer tech chat instead of the OM-1. Yeah, I've tried CC Cleaner. I like using Advanced System Care though. Yeah, make a restore point. Yeah, but Linux, I don't think TurboTax works on Linux or Quicken, or maybe it does, but I got so much software. Certainly none of my Adobe stuff or Photolab or DaVinci. I got a bunch of software that I have to use on Windows. If I was just browsing the internet, yes, I did run the Asus update. So I have the latest BIOS. Okay, let's go back to camera stuff. Let me show you a quick video. Where is it? Here it is. I'm gonna go full screen. I think. I'm right. This one. So this is 4K 60, Cinema 4K 60, 10-bit, and I graded it. So there's this duck. And then it goes flying off. And I did have the bird detect on. So you can see it's this video is jumpy because this player doesn't play 4K very well. It's not that jumpy actually. Yeah, it lost the bird there, of course. And then this is some of the subject detect. This is what I did this morning. This is an osprey. Now you see how it's like focusing from minimum to infinity. So I think at some point I stopped and changed it, turned my AF limiter on, and then I get much better performance. So now I have the AF limiter on, I'm pretty sure. There was a bald eagle. I got some shots of the bald eagle too. Lost it there, and now it picked it up again. Oh, you know why? Look at the center point. I didn't have the all points selected. So that's part of the problem. See the little square in the middle? I noticed when I choose a single point instead of all points. That's why I wanted to show you this. My tracking is a lot worse. So you have to really let me see if I can find what else I got here. Now I don't have the little square in the center. Oh, that was just a frog. Bird detect works on frogs too, just so you know. Let me go a little further. This isn't a bird in flight. I have to look at the length of time. Here's a 3-minute one. What's in here? This is just the raw captures. Oh, the Canadian geese came out awesome. So I'm going to pause here. I have the AF limiter on. I have the subject detect on here, bird detect. My shutter speed is a 1/2000 f8. I dialed in a +1 exposure comp, and the ISO is all over the place. It just happened to be at 40,000 here. But let's keep going. Any birds? No birds. There was a bunch of people there. Everybody's bailing. Yeah, I didn't. All right, so that's the end of that. It was just a very short clip there. This one is, oh, here's one for 6 minutes. I got the single point on again. Why? This was definitely a mistake. Oh, this is the video. Even though I messed this up, having this single point, I still got some decent shots today. I thought for sure I fixed that. See, this is an Osprey. Yeah. It's always something I mess up. But yeah, this single point is not cutting it. You have to have all points selected. But it still locked focus somehow. I'm trying to find the one where I had the eagle. Oh, this was cool. Look, he's catching a fish. He dove into the water here. There he goes. Bam. See? Got the fish here. I did capture these images. I'll try and find them for you. They didn't come out too great because he's so far away, you know? Let's see, is there anything else? Yeah, this one should be in focus because there's 5 minutes. This might be the one with the eagle. Nope, that's a plane. The bird detection works for planes too. I'm still in single point. Why? Dumbass. This is some kind of bird. A flicker. I think it's called a flicker, is what Dave told me. But the eagle is not far from here. Where is it? I'm pixel peeping there. That came out pretty good, right? I mean, to give you an idea, this is the full frame, right? And I'm at a full 300 millimeters as indicated down here. F8 1/500th. I think my settings were good. I just had the wrong focus setting. But it still came out pretty good. That was a wood duck. That's a bunch of ducks there. Here's the eagle. Yeah, some of these came out really good. That one. And that one came out pretty good. This is cool. This osprey and this eagle were kind of fighting. That one came out really good. There's the osprey chasing it. I think the osprey, after it dove down and caught that fish, the eagle went chasing after the osprey to try to steal the fish away from it. That was really cool to see. All right, let me just show you the images. I cherry picked a couple just before the stream. But they're on my Flickr page now, so you can pixel peep them if you want. But there's the one we were just looking at from the video. And let me just punch in. But I was able to clean it. Oh, come on. I was able to clean it up and get some decent detail. And again, this is the 75 to 300 kit lens, which is very soft at the 300 millimeters. But I was still able to clean this up. And if we look at the EXIF data, this is at ISO 640, 1/2000th of a second. All the EXIF data is here. And then this is the other duck that I did the 4K video. I took a couple of pictures of it. This is at 300 millimeters, ISO 320. But you can see I had to crop in quite a bit. But this came out all right. And this is the David Crooks. Remember the crow? Nobody likes to take pictures of these crows, but I like them. But this is the shot of the crow that I got the other day. This wasn't from today. But this came out pretty good. I had to and that's almost the full resolution. I was able to frame most of it. This is at ISO 2500. I did edit with Topaz and Lightroom because Photolab doesn't support it yet. But 300 millimeters f8 1/500. So again, I think this is a great picture of a crow. But I dialed in +3 exposure comp to get this shot. I don't know if that shows in the EXIF data or not. I always put the full EXIF data for you guys, if I remember, which most of the time I do. You guys can always look at my EXIF data. This is another eagle shot from the other day. This came out really good too. Slightly overexposed on the highlights though, because I don't think I dialed in exposure comp here. And we're at ISO 2500. 1/3000th of a second at 5.7. 156 millimeters. So that's why I'm thinking maybe I can get a 40 to 150 lens. That's definitely going to be sharper than my 75 to 300. And I think I can get some good detail with that lens because I'm going to be at f4 instead of f5.7 or f8 is what I typically shoot at. So I'm going to be 2 stops faster and have a sharper lens. That's what I'm thinking anyway. It's my logic. Oh, and these were from the video that I made the other week. What I'm doing is, I'm trying to put the photos that I take on my Flickr so you can pixel peep them because you can't see jack on a YouTube video, right? Um, with all the compression and everything. So watch the video and then come back to my Flickr page, and usually I'll have the pictures posted that I used in the video so you can pixel peep them, right? Because everything looks good at 1080p on YouTube, right? Everything looks good in 2 megapixels. That should be a t-shirt. All right, let me see. Go back to the chat here. Yes, you can customize the square, rectangle. There's a lot of customization in the autofocus that I haven't even touched, but you can do all of that. And Camille is asking, let me try and read it over here. I can't read it. Camille is asking, have you tested the 75-1.8 or the 45-1.8 in SH2 mode? I tested the 17-1.2 and the 25-1.2 with the OM-1 yesterday. 100% hit rate with SH2 25 FPS and face detection, but Sigma 56 1.4 was slow. Yes, I did that yesterday with my dog Ellie. I tested the 75 1.8 and the 45 1.8, and they are horrible. They are horrible on this camera. Let me show you that. Those lenses are for portraits, single shot, a shot here, a shot there. You ain't doing 25 frames per second with the 75 or the 45. Let me tell you that. Not with the dog anyway. Where's my OM workspace? So I took 118 pictures and I think 60. Where is it? Let me go to. Let me go here. So I grouped the shots, I stacked them. And here's the 75 millimeter f1.8 lens. I think it was this group here. Let's see. No. When was it? Isn't that one? Oh. I know I used this flag and reject. Okay. Wasn't that group? 25. It had to be this one. I flagged them. Well, all right. Let's just punch in, right? That needs to render. That's why I don't want to use these. I don't want to have to render everything. What if I do stack, expand all stacks? There. Expand all stacks, flag. Nothing. How about here? How about here? How about here? Do it in workspace? Red? Green. All right, this is it here. I did it in workspace. So here's picture number 2. Everything that has this red flag is out of focus. And this, I believe, is the 75, 75 millimeter f1.8. Everything here is out of focus. So if I pick the greens, oh, nothing green. What color did I know? It had to be green. I got nothing in focus here. Well, these ones that are not green. Okay. So this is in focus. I counted them. I'm sorry. I'm not ready to give you the I'm not ready to quantify my results yet, basically. Because I'm having trouble it's I just did these yesterday. But when I checked last night or this morning, there was like 118 pictures and only 60 some of them were in focus and another 50 of them were not in focus. Maybe it was the 45 millimeter. Just look one more time. The 45. Yeah, this is it. Okay, I found it. All right, so here, this is the 45 millimeter f1.8, and 64 images were in focus, according to light. I went through every single one out of this 117 images, and then the ones that were out of focus, 54 out of focus. So 118 pictures. Seriously? 117 pictures. 64 in focus, and this is with the 45 millimeter f1.8. So let's get a little closer so it's more obvious. But yeah, no problem here. Totally in focus. And then let me so we'll start here. I'm going to highlight these real quick. Make these purple. Okay. One star. All right, so let me zoom out a little bit so it's a little easier to see. So the very first image here, you'll see that it has a flag. Let me do one more thing. X. Make these red. Just to make this easier to see, these green. All right, so with the 45 millimeter f1.8, here green, that's probably red. We'll just make it red. Anything in green is in focus. So you can see I got the first shot in focus, but then it lost focus for, I don't know, 1 second. Then it started to get focus again. And then I lost focus all in these. And then from here, I got pretty good focus. And then it lost focus a little bit on a few frames here. A few frames here. A bunch of frames here as she got closer. And all of these. And I think these, yeah, this is in focus. This is partially due to, I think, the minimum focusing distance. But yeah, that's in focus. I make this smaller? No. But that gives you an idea. Now, when I use my 12 to 40 Pro lens, when I use my 12 to 40 Pro lens, my hit rate was closer to 100%. But I need, I'm still training Ellie to sit and stay and then come towards me and go back, sit and stay. I'm trying to get her trained to help me test my camera. But once I get her trained and more consistently going back and forth, I'll be able to do more testing and quantify my results with different lenses. Because as it is now, she's still a little bit random when I'm testing my camera, so it makes it harder to make the test results consistent. But my gut feeling is the Pro lenses are going to do an excellent job. The kit lenses, I want to try the 14 to 42 kit lens. I want to try the 40 to 150 kit lens. The 75 to 300 is doing a pretty good job with birds, actually. This is doing pretty well. The The 75 f1.8 is the worst. The worst. I mean, I started counting them as like autofocus, 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 autofocus. I just gave up. Uh, but I am gonna count them off eventually. But I got sick of counting them because I was like, this is a train wreck. So I went to the 45 f1.8, and like I said, I got about what 55%. I don't know, whatever that percentage is in focus, and 45% out of focus. So those two, and the 45 I know is a slow lens in video. So it's gonna be that's gonna translate to photography as well. But anyhow, that's just a heads up. I'm gonna try and do a video, but like I said, I gotta try to get Ellie trained a little bit better uh with the thing. Okay. Um Let me scroll up and catch up. Right around 1 o'clock, I think, is where the stream was. Bird detection works for Superman too. That's funny. And eagles and ospreys don't like each other. Oops, how did I click the wrong one? Anyway, this is a question from Art. Is it true that the silver EM52 and EM53 get chipped on their coating over time? I don't own any silver ones, so I don't know. The silver EM5 Mark II is a metal body. The silver EM5 Mark III is plastic, but it's painted. Maybe they're both painted and they chip away. If they're painted, they're going to chip. That's just the way it is, but I don't know. I own black ones, so if they chip, it doesn't show as much. So yeah, here's the comment. Ospreys and eagles don't like each other. Same habitat. If same territory, that's a problem. Eagles usually win. I know. The eagles probably eat the osprey if they wanted to. I don't know why they don't eat the crows. The crows are all over the place. I saw a crow attacking an osprey the other day. It's crazy. And Annette says, I got my OM-1, including extra battery. Not much time to test it before heading to Costa Rica in just a week. Thanks. Nice to see you test the. Oh, no problem, Annette. Congratulations. You're going to love the camera. It's awesome. Takes a little bit of getting used to all of the features, though, in the menu. Um, yeah, thanks, Plato. You're an awesome photographer, though. I don't even hold a candle next to the kind of photography I've seen you post. But I try. 40 to 150 f2.8 with a 1 point. Yeah, I'm a little bit torn, Kevin. I feel like if I can get the 40 to 150 f4, that may be good enough for me, and I'll take that everywhere because it's very compact. The 40 to 150 with the teleconverter f2.8, it's substantially larger lens. I mean, it's not a monster lens, but it's much bigger than the f4, and I don't know if I would take that everywhere. I mean, I want to use it for like street shooting too, right? But if I got a f2.8 lens on my camera, I feel like I'm holding a bazooka up at somebody. Oh, that's interesting. And I haven't tried 4/3. Oh, excuse me. All right, stream's over. I'm just kidding. Um, I haven't tried 4/3 lenses on the newer Olympus cameras before. I don't have that adapter. I assume it works fine. Maybe not as fast because the old 4/3 lenses probably don't have the fast motors, but Um, yeah, that it has crossed my mind because if I get the 40 to 150 f2.8 with a 2x teleconverter, I'll be at 300 millimeters f5.6, and that's still pretty good. So I'm a little torn. Yeah, the 14 to 150. That's a great lens. How you doing, John? It's been a while since I've said hi to you. I know you've been coming to the streams, but somehow I just I know the last two streams you were here, I didn't say hello. Um, but if I get the 40 to 150 f4 or the 2.8, I'm gonna trade in my 14 to 150 and trade in my 40 to 150. I'm debating if I should get rid of my 75 to 300 too, but I hate to get rid of it before I know how good the new lens is. Because right now that's my go-to lens for birds in flight. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm definitely selling a couple of lenses to get the next 40 to 150. Oh my God. I need to take a nap. Um, oh, too bad. I thought the 75-18 can also be good for wildlife. It's my bucket list. Yeah, I'm not, for my dog running back and forth, I'm not seeing it. It's not looking good. Um, I'm gonna keep trying. It may take me another week or two before I get sort of a definitive answer that, yeah, this lens is great or this lens sucks when it for wildlife, but because I haven't really taken it out for actual wildlife, just my dog running around. But if it shoots birds in flight and does a good job with that, then that's a different thing, right? But we'll see. Because I'm using animal detect with Ellie and I'm using bird detect with the birds. Maybe the subject detect algorithm is better on birds than it is for animals. Hence, it will focus better for birds than it ever will for my dog. There's just so many variables, right? When you're trying to test a camera, you can't make assumptions one way or the other. Because, like I said, when I see these posts about how the OM-1 is doing better than the Sony A1, I'm like, I I find that hard to believe. But maybe, you know? But I don't have an A1 to test next to an OM-1. Um, so when I'm testing the OM-1 in a vacuum, all I can do is try swapping lenses and say, okay, the OM-1 works great with the yada yada lens. It doesn't work great with this lens. Now, does that mean it's better than the A1? I don't know. I don't have an A1 to compare it against, right? Uh, but you can ask people that have. I've seen posts where people have compared the A1 with the OM and they think the OM-1 is doing a better job. And I don't think they're lying, but I can't give you my personal opinion about it because I just don't have that to compare. And I'm very wary of like other YouTube channels posting comparisons like that. Like DP Review just did a post of video this morning, maybe yesterday, between the OM-1 and the Canon R3 for hockey, right? And you guys will have to watch it. I can't remember what they said. OM-1 did a fine job at like a third the cost, right? I think the only thing was, the tracking was not as good as the R3, which everybody knows, but the continuous autofocus was really good. And the only thing was going when you start to get into higher ISOs, the image quality drops. There's the gap in image quality widens, and also the depth of field they were talking about that, like, saying that what's her name like that more separation that she got with the depth of field on the R3 because of the full frame. But you guys can watch. I mean, it is what it is, right? Uh, yeah, I have to, Camille. I just, I just don't can't justify the cost of a pro lens. Maybe for a telephoto, though, I might be able to justify that now that I'm into birding. I see a question here. Let me just back up a little bit. Yes, John, I am definitely enjoying the new camera. It's so much fun to go out birding now and have that level of confidence um, that I'm going to get something in focus. Because trust me, I would go out thousands of shots. There might be two or three in focus. That's because my skill set wasn't very good. But when I came back from the very first day of birding with that new OM-1, um, I had so many shots in focus. They weren't keepers, but they were at least they were in focus. And I was like, holy crap, if I get good at birding, like with settings and tracking, manual, tracking with your eye and all that other stuff, if I can get my skill set up, um, I'm definitely going to have a lot more keepers. Um, that. This camera's definitely gotten me into wildlife shooting, which I never really considered before, because I don't know. But now, yeah, amazing. Okay. Yeah, I also I'm reading this. I have the 42 to 150, so the 40 to 150, and they don't let me take clear pictures far. Also on shutter speed priority mode, I haven't been able to change the shutter speed mode along with aperture priority mode. I shoot in full manual, so I'm adjusting aperture or I'm adjusting shutter speed and aperture and ISO constantly when I'm shooting birds. Because the problem is the bird will be sitting there on a branch. You don't really need 1/2000th of a second or 1/3000th of a second, so I'll back off the shutter speed so I can get the lower ISO. But then I miss the shot because they take off. Yeah, shooting birds, it's like it's a whole different thing. Okay, I think here's the question I wanted to get to. Hi, Rab. I have a question. I took pictures of the dying of the river in Chicago last week, but had to do it through a window and I get reflection from it. Any way to take, no. Any way to take the reflection out? Not after the fact. I mean, you can try and use the clarity slider or the dehaze slider to help reduce reflections if you're using Lightroom, and Olympus Workspace has a clarity slider. I don't think they have a dehaze slider. That's all you can do after the fact. Prior to that, your best option is use a polarizer, right? Um, Polarizers can help a lot with reflections, a lot. So that's your best bet is to get a polarizer, learn how to use it. You got to rotate it so that it shows the least amount of reflection. That's the only way I know of to help reduce reflections. The other thing is, um, if you can get right up to the glass and put the lens on the glass itself, or as close to it as possible, and cover, cover the lens, the end of the lens around to help reduce some of the light coming in front. I've done that many times where I'll put the lens up right up to the glass and I'll put my hand over it, like this, so that the light doesn't come in, and I take pictures that way. If you can be close to the glass, that's the best way. Um, but if you don't have the option to get, if the glass is even this far away, you're going to get a ton of reflections. And the only way from that point is to use a polarizer. And Lasiba says, just back from bird shooting on the shore with my OM-1 and 40 to 150 Pro with a 1.4 teleconverter. I haven't edited any, but the raw photos I have looked at look amazing. Awesome. That's good to know. I don't know. I'm still torn. I would love to have the 40 to 150 Pro lens. It's just the size is a little bit intimidating. Oh, it's John Truman's birthday. Happy birthday. Um, are you 60? Are you serious? No kidding. But everybody wish John a happy birthday. That's awesome. Made it to 60. I should be so lucky. Still playing the guitar and trying to learn photography and riding motorcycles. That's nice. My sister and brother-in-law got motorcycles. They bought a couple Harleys. And they, my sister trained on a little Honda. I was thinking about taking that little Honda motorcycle and just having that as my motorcycle, but I'm scared to death of motorcycles, but it looks so much fun. It's like a lot of fun, but scary too, right? Especially in this area, you don't want to drive in this area with a motorcycle. If I lived somewhere where it's a little like where Randy lives out in California, open road and stuff, I would get a motorcycle, but I ain't doing it in this area. Too crazy. Oh my God, Lauren is back. Isn't the A1 a steak sauce? Oh my God. I can't I'm using that, Lauren, next time I run into a Sony person. So many people with the Sony A1. I ran into a couple people. One today, well, two today. They both had A1s, I believe. But the other guy, he had the Sony 600 millimeter f4. I mean, that's like a five-figure cost. That's an expensive butt lens. But he's excited about the OM1. So he says. He's thinking about it. System Mature says keep the 75. Okay, maybe. Maybe. But if I get a telephoto Pro, I would never use that one. So I don't see a reason to keep it. Yeah, John Allen says the old 75-1.8 is slow to focus. Okay. So I think it's definitely not good in continuous autofocus. So far. I need to keep testing it. Kevin is 64. Wow, well, happy belated birthday. My goodness, a lot of birthdays this month. Wow. I'm not having a midlife crisis. It just looks like fun, that's all. You know. But yeah, I don't know. I'd rather buy gear. And Camille says, I've tested the R5 The R5, yeah, that's the good one, right? With the 100 to 500 for 5 days, and I'm sure the OM-1 40 to 150 2.8 with the MC14 and MC20 and 300 F4 is doing much better job. Oh, that's interesting. So your experience has been the R5 is doing, the OM-1 is doing better than the R5 with semi-equivalent lenses. Interesting. Like I said, I'm hearing that a lot. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence. Everybody's saying the OM-1 is doing a better job, which surprises me, honestly. Because those cameras are so expensive and people just rave about the autofocus. Um, okay, so those are all the questions that I saw. If I missed any, you can type it in again. It's okay. Let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can about the OM-1 if you have any. I've only had it a couple of weeks, but I have been shooting with it every day as much as I can. I didn't shoot much on Friday because I did go out, but I had a photo job Friday and I used my EM1 Mark III because Photolab 5 still supports the EM1 Mark III, but not the OM1. And I love Photolab 5. It's to me the best image processor out there. Not just because of the denoising, deep prime thing, but the optics module and the perspective corrections and all of that stuff. I'm finding it does a better job than Lightroom. Definitely better. I get much better, cleaner images out of Photolab 5. But once Photolab 5 supports the OM1 officially, uh, the M1 Mark III is going to be pretty much sold. So, I just don't need two flagship cameras, just one. Just one. Am I getting a day's worth of shooting on one battery or are you packing a second? I'm getting a day's worth. By that, I mean a couple hours, 2, 3 hours. The longest I was ever out was like about 7:30 to 10:30-ish. I was out for about 3 hours and the battery was down to 40 something percent. And that was, let me see how many shots I got that day. I'll just show you. So, see what this was. No, that doesn't count. Like today, for example, right? I took, let me just make sure there's no JPEGs in there. Yeah, these are all raw, right? I took 1,071 images for about an hour and a half, and my battery was down to 53%. And I also took 3 very short video clips. So I think birding, where you have continuous autofocus and you're constantly shooting, right? Burst shooting and silent shutter, the battery life ain't gonna last all day. That's my gut feeling. I haven't shot all day. I don't have the energy for that. But this is another day I went out. Pretty much the same thing. Battery is down to half or a little less than half. This doesn't count. This was at home. This was my photo job. These came out pretty good. It's just a small office that I did. What is this? Oh, this was a birds in flight day. I think this was the day I spent the most time out. 'Cause what did I? Oh, only 948 images. So yeah, that doesn't count. How about this one? Yeah, this day I got 1,900 images, and yeah, this is the day I went to Great Falls. And again, my battery was down in the 40% range with 2,000 images, and I was only out. This day I was out for about 3 hours as well. So in theory, I might get away with another 3 hours, but what does all day shooting mean, right? That's kind of a um that's that's going to vary person to person. What is all day shooting? And I wasn't using any of the energy saving features or anything like that. I had the camera on constantly. So honestly, it feels like it's about the same as my M1 Mark III in terms of battery life. It doesn't feel like it's really lasting any longer or any shorter. It feels about the same. I think the OM1 is definitely drawing more power from the battery, even though the battery is a higher capacity. So if I was doing street shooting and I was just firing off a shot here, a shot there over a couple hours, I could probably shoot all day long like that. Or if I was in a studio, I could probably shoot all day long. But when you're out in the field doing birding and you're constantly half pressing the shutter button, and the focusing motors are going constantly, and the IBIS is, working hard, right? Because you're hand holding. Um, you should be able to get at least a couple thousand shots with a little bit of video. And then, 3 hours, no problem. Probably 3 to maybe 5 hours of shooting, no problem. The way it is now, with just with constantly shooting. That's my gut feeling. How did I get all the way up there? How do I store my photos? Um, yeah, 3 hours, no problem, CNH, no problem at all. I just store everything on an external hard drive, USB drives. So I have 2 drives for every picture. So I save the pictures to I do a daily backup of pictures to one drive, and then I archive those pictures. So 2020 will be on a different drive, but I'll have 2 drives with everything from 2020. That's just how I do it. I don't know. It's a nightmare. A NAS drive, I guess it just means it's on a network. I'm on a USB. It's not much different. But I have, I take all the disks. Let's see. So you can see I take the disks and they're numbered. I don't know if this is going to focus, but I number them. This is disk number 1, this is disk number 4, this is disk number 1. And then on the top of the disk, I put what year these disks have on them. So this disk has 2013, 14, and 15 on it. This disk has 2018 to 2021. So I have two of these that would have 2013, 14, and 15 on it. So if this goes bad, hopefully the other one is still good. If they both go bad, then yeah, I'm in trouble. If I want any of those pictures, but I have yet to really go back and look at this old stuff. I usually upload to Flickr anything I want to keep as that I thought were any good. But I'm not selling my photos, right? I'm not archiving my photos for resale, because there are photographers that they take their archiving very seriously, right? Because they may have something in their photo library that they might sell years later, right? And they need the original, whether it's a scan or if it's a raw file. They want the original so they can resell it. Uh, and they keep selling it for years and years and years. I'm not one of those people. I'm just basically an amateur photographer that I just take the pictures for myself, and nobody else looks at them really. Nobody cares about my pictures. Uh, but if you're serious, like if you want to make photography a career and you're thinking about selling your photos or you are selling your photos, then you have to take archiving much more seriously, cataloging and all of that. And I'm not the right person to ask for that about that kind of thing. Um, Hello, Archie. Good to see you, Archiekins. Um, John Matthews is here. Good to see you. Um, Big batteries are great in bodies, but I really don't mind having a small one in the body and a couple more in the pocket and carry all the power myself in my hand. A couple more in my pocket, then carry all my power all the time in my hand. Yeah, there's different ways to go about it. I think the EF1 is perfect. Excuse me. EM1 and the OM1, the batteries are perfect size. It's a good balance between battery life and size. If you want to go crazy, you get the EM1X or those dual grip type battery things. Uh, you should see the battery for the freaking Nikon Z9. My God, it's bigger than my Pen F. I mean, seriously, it's a huge battery. It's like the size of this remote control, and you slide this thing into the bottom of the grip. Oh my God. Walter would know. I don't know if he's here, but he has a Z9, and when I saw the battery for that thing, I was shocked. Um, and the M5 Mark III, I would get 2-3 hours out of it if I was very conservative for my normal photo walks. No problem. Same thing with my Pen F. But if I was shooting my EM5 Mark III like I shoot my OM1 now, I don't know if I would get 3 hours out of it. I'd probably get about an hour, but it's just simple size to weight ratio, right? When you see the batteries getting low, you just swap them. No big deal. Just like John is saying. Here's a question. Does the OM1 have a feature to shoot 4K video with a crop to get more reach? I have not seen it. Why isn't your question showing? It does have an internal teleconverter, but that teleconverter will give you a 2K image, I believe. That's a good question, though. I don't know if the teleconverter records in 4K. You can try it. I mean, 4K doesn't have a crop mode, but you can use the teleconverter. So let me put in movie mode. I'm curious now, right? Where's the teleconverter in the menu? I would have to assign a button to it, right? I'm looking. Let me just assign a button. I know it's in the button menu. I can't find it in the menu itself. It's not there yet. So if I assign this to, this is magnify teleconverter. Okay, let me change the movie mode to, just put in aperture. All right. So if I record, this is Cinema 4K 60p. All right. And then, okay, stop recording. All right. Now push record. And the teleconverter's not working. I did assign that button. I go back and double check. Button settings, button function. Oh no, I did it for press switch digital teleconverter 1.4x. Okay. There's a 1.4x digital teleconverter. Okay, I'm going to record and stop. All right, let's see what the dimensions are of the movie. Oh, where's my card reader? Not good. Card reader. This one. Here it is. All right. I need like a regular USB-A card reader. Because okay. File manager. Go to SD card. Aha. Yes. So, oh, come on. That player doesn't work. Open with home player. So this is a 1.4x teleconverter. And playback info, you can see that it's still in Cinema 4K resolution. And then I'll pull up the other file. PLC won't play my OM-1 files for some reason. Click open with I should have closed this before it. Open with. All right, so you can see this is a wider view. This is the normal full sensor capture. And so this one is also full Cinema 4K 4096. So yeah, it has a 1.4x teleconverter. And when you use the teleconverter, it does record in the full 4K resolution or Cinema 4K resolution. I did not know that myself. That's cool. Okay, good question. Um, because 4K only requires 8.3 megapixel, it doesn't require the whole sensor. I often use the feature on my Lumix G9 to shoot wildlife. Gives me a 1.4x crop on my, yeah, so the OM1 does the exact same thing as your G9. Yep. And Taja says, on my Olympus C420, focusing is the problem. When I zoom in to 42 to 150 to catch a bird in sky, all I get is blur. Yeah, it's an old camera. I can't imagine it being able to do birds in flight very well. I think I have an E420, but it's been converted to infrared, so I can't give any feedback on that. And John Matthews asks, if you had two lenses only, which ones would you choose for an all-around kit? Just curious because you said the other day that your preferences were changing. Yeah, I'm still in limbo now. I mean, if you'd asked me before, I would have said a 17 millimeter. Maybe the 17 and the 75. I don't know, 45. Like, I would probably pick a prime and a 40 to 150 kit zoom. So a 17 millimeter and a 40 to 150. But now I'm thinking 12 to 40 and a 40 to 150 f4. So 12 to 40 f2.8 and a 40 to 150 f4. If I had to be, I only have two. I'm pretty sure those are the two that I would pick. Which is a very different question than if I had one camera and one lens, it would be pen f and 17 millimeter. If I had the only two lenses, but any cameras I want, it would be those two lenses. It's kind of a different way to answer the same thing, right? So the answer is different depending on the situation. Yeah. Uh, yeah, the 12 to 100 f4 is an all-around great lens. I agree. It's just really big and heavy for what it is. I'd rather have those two primes or two zooms. Like break it up a little bit rather than have it all in one. Um, and Monokuro says, thank you. Well, you're welcome. I try. I try. I try to answer everyone's questions and be the honest as I can. Have you considered that part of your focusing problem is that you're using the ordinary kit lenses over pro lenses that might be much light gathering ability at smaller apertures? No, because okay, the 45 f1.8 and the 75 f1.8 are gathering enough light. And also, uh, even when I'm using the kit lenses that are f4, f5, f8, I'm still getting relatively low ISOs if I lower my shutter speed. Like 1/500th of a second, I'm down to ISO 300. So I'm getting enough light into the camera for the autofocus to work regardless. I think the problem is the motors itself aren't fast enough to keep up with the camera's demands. So the camera's saying focus from point A to point B, and it's just not able to move fast enough before So when the lens finally gets to point B, the camera's saying, "Oh, well, we need to be at point C now." So the camera says, "Okay, point B is no longer valid. Go to point C." So now the lens moves over to point C, and now the camera's saying, "No, point C is no not good anymore." So the problem is that the lenses are not able to keep up, and sometimes the camera seems to take a picture even when it's out of focus. Uh, in theory, it's not supposed to. It's supposed to only take a picture when it thinks it has focus, when you have the release priority set to off. Uh, so I don't know. I still got a lot of settings I have to go through and figure out, but I don't think it's because I don't have enough light. Yeah, in low light, if you're using kit lenses, it's definitely going to affect the autofocus. But the few situations I've been in where the light has been good, it that should not be an issue. Whether you're using a kit lens or a prime or pro lens, if you got enough light hitting the sensor, you got enough light. Doesn't matter what the aperture is. Um, but ultimately, autofocus is contrast detect with phase detect to speed up the positioning, and you got to have good contrast. So pro lenses have very, very good contrast versus kit lenses. I think that's more of a factor in the autofocusing working better in pro lenses versus kit lenses because the contrast and sharpness of the pro lenses are so good the camera can easily detect when it has focus versus the kit lenses. This thing is so soft, it's amazing it gets focus at all. I mean, you can get some decent images out of it, but you're not going to be, counting the hairs on my eyelids with this lens. And oh, that's right. You're not John. I'm sorry, John. I meant to hit. I think you said you just got your 45-1/8. That's a good deal. And you were surprised how small it was. It is a tiny lens. And Mono says I conducted a sharpness test yesterday between my Ollie 400 100 to 400 MC14 versus my Ollie 300. Oh, thank you. This is exactly the information I'm interested in. The 300 MC was noticeably sharper and also gave slightly more reach, 1200 versus 1100, and faster aperture. So the aperture would have been f5, f8, right? And on the MC 400, it'd have been f9, I think, depending what focal length you're at, because it's variable zoom, right? It'd have been f9 or higher with the 1.4. So I mean, it makes perfect sense. A prime should be sharper than a zoom any day. I mean, the zooms are so good now that you may have to pixel peep to see the difference. But when you're talking about an Olympus zoom versus an Olympus prime, I would imagine a prime is going to be much better. That's good information. See, now you got me thinking about the 300 f4 again. What I'd like to see, and I can probably find it online, the 40 to 150 f2.8 with a 2x teleconverter versus the 300 millimeter f4 Pro. Because that is a logical comparison because now you have a 300 millimeter f5.6, which is much more versatile because you can go from 80 to 300 versus a prime 300 f4. I'm gonna have to look at some tests online. I'm that has to have been done 100 times already. I'm sure there's a lot of places that have done it. So, but that's good to know. I appreciate that, as I'm sure many others here. And oh, here, I use the power bank. Oh, so Sammy says he uses a power bank, which is PD 10,000 milliamp. Okay. And then you continue on with, and can use the OM-1 in charging it and charge another camera in EM. Yeah. Yeah, the ability to charge the batteries in camera does give you some versatility. It's not my preferred way. I'd rather charge externally, but definitely it gives you a lot of versatility. I should keep moving when I'm reading because otherwise you think the stream is frozen, right? All right. Well, was there another question here? Here. Druid says between 25 and 45, which one would you choose to carry around? If you mean as a second lens, I would take the 45. So I would have whatever lens on my camera, a 12 to 40 or a 75 to 300, whatever lens I have on the camera. If I was going to carry a second lens between those two, I would take the 45 because the 45 will give me a nice sharp image with a shallow depth of field if I wanted to. If I had to choose one lens and camera between those two, it would be the 25 millimeter. Because the 25 millimeter is wider, and I would rather shoot wider than too tight, because you can always crop in 25 millimeter if you need to. But you can't like widen a 45 millimeter lens. You'd have to walk back twice as far to get the same field of view, which is not always possible. You know, that's not a small difference, right? So if it was one lens, if I had to take one lens between those two, it'd be the 25. If I had to carry a second lens, it would be the 45, if that makes sense. Because the lens on the camera would almost definitely be wider than the 45. So 45 makes sense. And if the lenses are longer than the 45 that I have on my camera, they're going to be slow, right? They're going to be f4, f5, f8. They're not going to be fast lenses. So 45 f1.8 gives me that low light capability as a second lens if the lens on my camera is longer than 45. And if my lens is wider than 45, I won't get the same depth of field as I would with. So there's a lot of reasons. I hope that answers your question. And it says, thank you. I have the 45 and find it tight, but I also use the 75 and find it perfect for street. Your one messed up, yeah. Okay. Lauren says, I use the 25 on my GX85 or Zoom and the 45 on the Olympus on the M1 Mark II, which is fine for portrait shooting. Yep. Yeah, I would use a 400 millimeter. Okay, any other question? Because I'm coming up on 2 hours here, so yeah, there's so many setups. One could choose a 2-lens kit. The question really becomes, how do you keep the spirit of M43? Interesting. System, the choice says the 1.4 TC gives a sharper image, which makes sense. Did anyone test the 25 millimeter versus the 25 f1.8 from Lumix? The Lumix is a 1.7, I believe. If you're talking about the Plastic Fantastic from Lumix, I have tested those two lenses. I'm not pixel peeping those two lenses, but they're about, I would say they're equally as sharp, the Olympus versus the Lumix. But the Olympus works better on the Olympus body, as you would expect, especially in video mode for continuous autofocus. I would assume that translates into photography stills as well, that the continuous autofocus is going to work better using an Olympus lens on an Olympus body. But I can't definitively say that. But if you're talking about taking single shots, street photography, one at a time, both lenses do a great job. Save your money and get the Panasonic. You know, if you're on a very tight budget, you can save a lot of money getting the Panasonic Lumix 1.7. Now, I'm not talking about the Pancake 1.7. I'm talking about the regular 25 millimeter 1.7. The Panasonic Pancake 1.7, I have no experience with, so I can't speak to that. But I hear it's a great lens too, just a little slow on the autofocus. And on the OM-1, is there still an option for the 2x teleconverter in video, or is it only 1.4x? I didn't see anything other than 1.4, but let me double check. Digital teleconverter can be on or off. So what if I'm in 10? Let me change video modes, because I was in Cinema 4K. Maybe it's related to the resolution. So for regular 4K, it's 1.4. And for 1080p, it's 1.4. Let me check in the menu if there's any options. Nope. So it seems to be limited to 1.4 on the OM-1. I remember on the Pen F, I remember it was 2x, right? It was a 2x teleconverter. Maybe it was 4x, but it was at least a 2x. I never used the teleconverter on the M1 Mark III, so I don't know what it is. But on the OM-1, it's 1.4x, as far as I can see. Okay, so the M1 Mark III is 2x. So the M1 Mark III is the same as every other Olympus I've ever used. The OM-1 is now 1.4. That's interesting. Oh, Ben is here. How you doing, Ben? I'm almost done, actually. I'm about to head out. Mainly because I'm really hungry. And I do not have any experience, but Steve is saying, I'm going to take a short trip and I'd like to use my Chromebook to view and slightly edit some files. I'm new to Chrome OS. Has anyone ever experienced editing with the Chromebook? So if anybody want to give Steve some feedback, you're welcome to. I don't have any experience. The only thing I remember about the Chromebooks is the screens weren't very good. So it might be hard to edit the photos anyway because you're not getting a good, colorful, punchy, contrasty image to begin with. And is it true that the 240 FPS slow motion mode on the OM-1 has the following limitation? Does not record audio, does not autofocus. Yes, that is true. That is true. Because I did some 240 FPS video here. I had to manually focus and I had to, what was the other thing? No audio. Yeah, there was no sound. So no sound and no autofocus. My mom golfing, kind of. This is in one sitting. She missed it 3 times in a row. 3 times in a row she missed this ball. And then she blamed the club. She goes, "This club is not good." So she walks off to get another club. Like, this club is not good. It's too big. Anyway, uh that was a fun day. CNH is gonna go rake some leaves. Yeah, I need to do that too. Um Is the sensor at 1:1 ratio pixel when shooting with the 1.4 teleconverter? Sorry if this has already been covered. I don't know. I don't know what the specs are. Uh the only way to tell is you'd have to record the same footage at different lengths, and then compare the image quality to see. I don't know. That's something we'd have to look up on the Olympus manual, maybe. Sorry, Ben, I don't know how it works. My guess would be that it is cropping in on the sensor. Uh, but if it's 1:1, I don't know. This is the mature. We'll see you later. And okay, I'm definitely gonna go. I'm getting really hungry. So I'm gonna do some more testing and publish some videos, do the best I can. I mean, you guys asked me a lot of questions in the community tab that I haven't gotten to yet, but I am testing. And I want to test different lenses with the continuous autofocus. I mean, like I said, the 75-1.8 was a train wreck. The 45, a little better. The 75-300 is doing a good job. And the pro lenses seem to be excellent with this camera as far as continuous autofocus. So that's what I've surmised this week. I love the video quality. I love the subject detect on birds. It's doing an awesome job. And battery life, it seems like 3 hours. I'm down to about 50% of heavy shooting, like continually shooting. Um, I think that sums up everything we covered today and a few things about lenses. But anyhow, thanks everybody for coming in. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, I have the link right here, robtrick.com support. Any donations are greatly appreciated. And I also have links down. If you want to buy the OM-1 through the affiliate links, they support the channel as well. All of that's greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching today. I'll be back on Thursday for the next live stream.